Our group will present about our case study, which is about Aman Shah, one cent thief. This is our group member. And next, we will start with the introduction. Corruption is a misuse of authority for personal and a group gain. It can take many forms, such as bribery, embezzlement, favoritism, and abuse of power. In Malaysia, corruption continues to be a major concern. It affects both the public and private sector. It weakens public trust, costs in the government services, and discourages foreign investment. Even though Malaysia has taken steps in fight corruption, such as setting up the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission or MACC, there are still challenges in areas like enforcement, political accountability, and public involvement. Next.
Okay, for the case background, the main criminal for this case is Aman Shah. He was worked as a bank executive or manager at Hua Bank. He was accused of committing fraud by manipulating transaction system of the customer of the Hua Bank. He stole every 1 cent from each customer's bank transaction. The method reflects a real-world financial fraud tactic by stealing insignificant amounts from many transactions, which at last add up to a large amount or large sum. He was worked at the mid-sized technology firm with high-volume financial transactions. Despite a monthly salary he get by RM 1,800, Aman Shah amassed of RM 4.01 million. He used the money to buy 6 luxury cars with paying by cash. Red flags were raised when a bank officer questioned his wealth to him. Police report filed by the head officer of the Hua Bank. Then he tried at the Kuala Lumpur Session Court and he finally found guilty of criminal branch of trust under section 408 of the Penal Code. He committed the offence 7 times between January 26 to March 27, 1990. He was finally sentenced to 5 years in a prison.
Now I will talk about the problem. A bank worker with strong teeth skill misuse the banking system. He secretly took 1 cent from many customer account and moved the money into his own account. This happened over a long time without anyone notice. The problem happened because the bank depended too much on automated system and did not have enough people checking the system. The bank's control were not strong enough to catch small transactions that happened many times. Ahmad Shah also used the uh, given to him. He had access to important banking system and data, and he used it to steal money. The bank also did have a good system to find strange pattern in small transactions. Thank you.
So now I will continue the main factor analysis. The first one is the insider access. Aman Shah was the head of Hua Bank electronic transfer system known as SPEED. This gave him full control over how digital fund transfer were processed. Because of his senior position, he had unrestricted access to sensitive financial system. But the real issue was the lack of daily oversight. No one was monitoring his activities closely. So this kind of unchecked insider access is one of the biggest risk factors for internal fraud in any financial institution. So the second one is technical expertise. Aman Shah become more skilled thanks to the bank itself because they send him to a computer training course which give him a deeper understanding of how the bank's digital transaction work, including how they recorded, proceed, and sometimes miss. With this knowledge, he was able to identify weakness in the system that others didn't notice. So he wasn't just taking advantages of his position. He was also exploiting the system at a technical level, using his training to commit fraud more effectively. So now I will pass to my teammates to continue the presentation.
So now the third point I'll be talking is the fraud strategy by Aman Shah. So by deducting 1 cent from each customer's account, he was able to redirect funds to a fake account under his control. But however, that amount was too small for customers or systems to notice. So over time, he accumulated a total of 4.1 million ringgit Malaysia. And the last factor would be the weak internal controls of the bank itself. So, back in the days, poor cyber security and fraud detection mechanisms uh, has contributed to the fraud itself, where no alerts for repeated microtransactions were in place in the bank, and inadequate audit trails and employee monitoring was how it was in back in the days. So this allowed the fraud to go undetected for a long period of time. Next.
So I will talk about the theory of application on this case. The first one is rational choice theory, which crime occur when benefit outweigh risk. Like Aman Shah redirected 1 cent reminder to his account without anyone notice about it, and he believed that small amount will go undetected by the system, but actually it detected. And the act was based on the cost benefit analysis, and like corruption can be seen as a calculated rational decision. For the next theory is opportunity theory, which is the crime happens when the opportunity are present, like weak system control and poor supervision from the management, and the banking system fail to track for the small transaction, Shah Aman Shah did, and there is no effective audit or real-time monitoring. Like lapse in oversight enable long-term corruption.
So I will go to the third theory. The third theory is agency theory. So agency theory explains the relationship between employer and employee. If the employer does not monitor the employee properly, the employee may act in their own self-interest. So in this situation, Aman Shah as an employee or system operator misused the trust given to him by his employer because there was no review by two parties, no control system, and no continuous monitoring of work. Aman Shah was encouraged to act dishonestly and irresponsibly. So number 4 theory is low ethical standard theory. The low ethical standard theory emphasize the importance of moral values and honestly in a person. Even though laws and systems are in place to prevent misconduct, they are still ineffective if a person lacks strong ethical foundation. This is because Aman Shah may have known that his action were wrong and against the law, but he still carried them out due to a lack of honesty and disregard for the negative impact on the organization and society. This shows that ethic education, awareness of honesty, and strong personal values are very important in preventing corruption. That's all for me. Thank you.
Now I'm going to talk about the critical thinking and insight. But to have a better understanding in this incident, it can be analyzed using 3 common factors of corruption, which are pressure, opportunity, and rationalization. In terms of pressure, Aman Shah appeared to be driven by greed and desire for luxury lifestyle, such as owning fast car. The second factor, opportunity, refers to weak internal control within the bank. The lack of real-time transaction monitoring allowed him to repeat embezzle small sums without being detected. Lastly, rationalization played a role in enabling the crime. Aman Shah's statement, the money was not from the customer, it was part of bank's profit, demonstrate his attempt to justify his action and any wrongdoing. Additionally, the punishment, only 5 years of imprisonment, may not have been severe enough to serve as strong deterrence.
Um, as we know, this case reveals serious weakness in the bank internal control, where small amount of money were repeatedly transferred into an account over time without detection. Firstly, this shows an urgent need to strengthen the bank financial monitoring system. Banks should implement real-time transaction monitoring, especially to detect unusual transaction pattern, even small but repeated ones. This would allow compliance or audit department to act quickly and reduce the chance of fraud going unnoticed. Secondly, we must address the issue of opportunity. Aman was able to attack the system because, because there was no proper division of responsibility. So we recommend enforcing segregation of duties. No employee should be allowed to start, approve, and execute a transaction on their own. Third, Aman Shah's ways of thinking show a problem with rationalization. He believed the money was not from the customer but from the bank profit. This shows the importance of regular ethic and anti-corruption training. Staff must be training. Staff must be trained to understand the seriousness of white collar crime and to build a culture of integrity. At the same time, the organization should enforce a strong whistleblower protection policy to encourage self-reporting. So, fourthly, the fourth, the 5 year sentences he received um, may not have been a strong enough deterrent. Therefore, we suggest that legal reform are needed. Um, penalty of white collar crime should be reviewed and straightened to reflect the real impact of the offence. Lastly, banks must conduct regular independent audit. This audit done by external bodies can help ensure that internal control are working and updated. That's all.
Okay. In conclusion, this case show how a small action like a stealing 1 cent per transaction can turn into a big crime with over RM 4 million. Aman Shah used his access and computer skills to take advantage of the bank's big system. There was not enough monitoring, and the bank trusted him too much without proper check. We can understand this action using a few theories. He saw more benefit than risk, found an easy change, misused that trust given to him, and didn't have strong moral value. From this case, we learn that bank and companies must improve their system, teach their staff about ethics, and make sure strict punishment is given to those who break the law. And that's all from our group. Thank you.
That's all from us. Thank you for your attention.